Welcome to Courage and Conversation. I'm Janet Nordine, licensed marriage and family therapist and registered play therapist supervisor from Las Vegas Play Therapy. And my guest today is Dr. Jodi Mullen. So
Hi,
good to see you.
so good to see you too. I'm so delighted to have this opportunity to talk with you about
Yes,
literally anything, but even more so about play therapy.
awesome. Do you remember the last time we saw each other?
Yes. Would you like me to
Oh,
tell you what my
yes,
memory is
please.
that?
Yes, I would love
I
that.
we were in Kenya and I got
So
to hang out.
crazy.
Right, right. Yeah, that is. And I got to it was really nice because it was the end of our time there, like as part of the conference that
Hmm.
we, were attending and speaking at. And then and everybody was kind of leaving to do their what was next. And I got to just hang out with you and your husband. And
Yeah,
you were like my parents. In that it was I felt very like taken care of. So we got to have some real like one-on-one time,
yeah,
which didn't really we didn't really have a lot of
no,
opportunities for that. So it was so great. And it was such a nice
yeah.
like end to that experience in Kenya.
It's a smooth transition right before we went to the airport, which was
Yes.
not smooth there. It's kind of
No.
wild. Yeah. I love that we got to be in Kenya together and I got to see you and get to know you a little bit more. And the reason this symposium, the Las Vegas Play Therapy Children's Mental Wellness Symposium, What About the Children, is because of my time in Kenya. And
Mhm.
do you remember the doctor, the psychologist that came to speak to us on, I think, the very first day to welcome
Yeah.
us to Kenya? And he spoke about the bombing that had happened there. And so many people came to
Yes.
him and asked, how are you going to take care of the children? And
Yeah.
he said, what about the children? And that just struck me in a way
Yeah.
that has just stayed with me. In fact, I just had goosebumps
I was
happen.
just going to say that to you. I was going to say, as you
Yeah,
said that, like, I think that's a question we don't ask ourselves
yes,
culturally in our communities, even
right.
even in our families, we don't ask that of ourselves enough. I mean, I think as play therapists, we have that part where we have our eye on that, but
Yes,
I just think that there are so many ways that we don't ask about that and they get left
right.
behind.
They do. And I think society in general, oh, children are resilient, they'll be okay. They are
Mm.
resilient and they need support to get to their resilience, just like every human.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, and I also think because I also work with adults. And so I think, well, they were resilient, but now they're still in pain from things that happened to them,
yes,
their experiences as children. So yeah, they were resilient, but they're not okay.
they're
And
not.
mm,
Yeah, I also work with adults, and that was my first. When I first became a therapist, I worked with the Rape Crisis Center here in Las Vegas, now called Signs of Hope. And so, working with adults and teens that had been sexually traumatized is my passion. I always keep my fingers in that
yeah,
arena, and I keep learning and working with people that have experienced sexual trauma. But I heard you speak after our time in Kenya on the Lessons from the Playroom podcast with Lisa Dion, talking about when sexualized trauma shows up in the playroom, and I was
yeah.
just, I need more of Jodi. I need more of her knowledge, her wisdom. I have a consultation group here in Las Vegas for play therapy, and I sent it to them and said that was their homework, and if they didn't listen, they were going to be in trouble. Not really, but everyone listened, and so we talked about it a lot. So when this opportunity to host this mental wellness symposium for children came up, you were at the top of my list of who I wanted to ask.
Thank
Yeah,
you. That
you're
really
welcome.
means means a lot to me. I it's funny because I just got done. I teach in a graduate program at the State University of New York College at Oswego, and I've been here for 30 years, and I just was like, I'm going to teach a new course. Like I want to teach a new course. So and I just finished teaching the class for that course, but it's clinical studies in sexual trauma. And I was
Mhm.
like, who are the brave individuals who are going to sign up for a course
Yeah,
that has never been taught before? And we are only talking about sexual trauma. It
yeah,
was, and so it has been, really powerful to be able to do that deep of a dive into, into the research, into the clinical practice, best practices. And My students are all either going to be school psychologists, school counselors, or mental health counselors. And just the students who decided to take that class are all working with children and adolescents. And so to
Yes.
be able to focus on what can we do better and what are we missing,
Mhm.
is a big part of that.
Right.
So I'm so glad that your supervisee that you had that response to
Mhm.
that
Yes.
podcast appearance and your supervisees did, because
Yes.
I think we're afraid.
We are. And I would imagine in this new course you're teaching, how do we as therapists be okay when it shows up?
Yes.
Because, Americans in this country, we have a little hang up in the area of anything sexual. It's like,
Yeah.
it doesn't, la, 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 la.
Right.
Yes. So how do we also be okay when it shows up ourselves? And how do we not over ask the questions and push and,
Yeah. Yeah, all the things that then get in the way. And I think, part of what I like to talk about and what I will be talking about in Las Vegas is talking about like how do we even see it? Because sometimes we're just missing it because it's symbolic and metaphorical in their play. And sometimes we're missing it because we don't want to see it. Like this kid was not referred for sexual trauma. So
right.
when a kid is, that's one thing, right? But when a kid isn't, and we start to see uh I was just teaching a class where we use this as a prop.
The red flag. Oh, that's
Right.
fantastic.
But,
I'm
but
heading to Amazon to get myself one now.
yeah, and
Love that.
they're pretty amazing. But how do we see those red flags when one, that isn't part of typically of our training and
Right.
clinical knowledge. And two, we don't really want to see them because this kid was referred
Right.
for, perfectionism. We don't want
Yes.
to see that.
Yes. Which is so connected.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
all of those things. So it's a weird thing, and I know you get it, but it's a weird
Mhm.
thing to feel like when you focus on this topic of sexual trauma and especially sexually traumatized kids, is
Mhm.
it's very rewarding. It's horrifying, but also
Yeah.
rewarding.
I think about working with children of all types and all presentations and all the things that they show up with as a pay it forward to adults. If they
Hmm.
can get help and figure out like how they can be okay and find their own ways of self-regulation, coming back to self, connecting to self, and being okay, their adulthood is going to be a little bit, easier maybe.
Yeah,
And
the
also remembering I had that therapist, that Dr. Jodi or that Janet when I was a kid, and they were okay, so maybe I can go to therapy as an adult.
Yeah, yes, that's probably the most important thing we do
Yeah,
as specialists for children is that they have a good experience with us.
yeah,
And then when it's their choice and they're ready and all the
right,
things, is that they will go back because of the
yeah,
experience they have with us. Actually, what you were saying too is such an important part because my guess is that some people wouldn't even consider going to the symposium because it's focused on children.
mm,
They don't work with children. But my argument would be if you work with adults, this is
yeah,
a place for you also. And part of that is because so many, and you and I know this because we work with adults also,
yes,
that so many of the adults come in to therapy and their child part is the part that is really the part that needs
right,
helping and healing. And so, I think eh, it may feel a little daring to adult therapists to
uh-huh,
attend
yeah,
about children, but I think that you walk away with an ability to be way more connected to your
yes,
clients.
yes, I agree completely. And as a, play therapist, I do see my sand tray behind me. I use
Oh
sand
yeah.
tray with adults. I use, bibliotherapy. You have one of my favorite books on your shelf. Um, the Rabbit Listened.
Oh
I
yes.
read that to grown-ups, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
how many people come into your life and they want you to do all the things, but really what you want to be is be heard.
Yeah. And that is really with sexually traumatized people
Yes.
is they're unseen, they're unheard, they're not believed. And that
Yeah.
is way more damaging in some ways, right? That's what they carry forward with them. That's
Mhm.
their trajectory. It affects all of their relationships moving forward if those
Yeah.
things don't get addressed in their
Yeah.
childhood.
Or you have the adult that comes in that never told, and you're the first person that's holding that with them, and what a sacred moment that is. that
Yes,
they've
yeah.
trusted and brought that to you.
Yeah, and some of the research literature that I've most recently found and like I said, dove into hardcore
Mhm.
is talks about that it is that first of all, most children do not disclose, and disclosure does not equal healing. We'll talk about it in Vegas.
Yeah.
But but
Yeah.
that most people who were sexually traumatized as children do not talk about it, do not tell about it until their 40s and 50s.
Yes. I remember when I was just entering into grad school and researching what I was most interested in, which was this topic, was most adult women that had this happen don't start talking about it until they've had their first child, their
Mhm.
30s, when things are settled down and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, this big heavy weight is here. And I had pushed it away somehow. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so sometimes um a mistake that we make, and it's so pervasive, it's hard to even figure out for me, like how did we get this idea
Yeah.
that getting a child to talk about it, right? Which also doesn't exactly, fit for us as play therapists. We're just looking for them to communicate, not
Mhm. Yes.
necessarily to talk, but that to get someone, especially a child, to talk about
Mhm.
it does not mean that they will heal. So it's so like how important it is uh, that we create these spaces where children experience that neuroception of
Yes.
safety, where that's where
Mhm.
healing happens and wholeness can start to become integrated again.
Yes. And as a therapist, how we reflect their preciousness back to them, even though this really hard thing has happened and they're
Yeah.
nothing is wrong with them. Yeah.
Yeah. That I love the reflect their preciousness. I just absolutely love that. That
Yeah.
was a
I love that
beautiful way
too.
of saying that.
Because they are, there's nothing, people come in and they think that their child is now damaged because this thing has happened. If the
Mhm.
parent is aware and they want to know, did they tell you? Did they talk about it? And they're so anxious. And then working with the family because it's a family
Oh,
system situation.
yes, 100%. And so again, it's another place where there's just so much to it. That's why I could create,
Yes.
a full semester graduate level course on
Yeah.
it. And so,
Yeah.
and I think too, you had said, and it meant a lot to me when you said, we listened to your podcast, and I was like, I want more.
Yes.
Is
It
that's
wasn't enough. We don't
yeah.
have enough training in this area. We just really don't. And this symposium is really about the hard topics. We have you speaking about sexual abuse. We have someone speaking about suicide with children. We have people speaking about neurodiversity, adoption. I'll be speaking on adoption, divorce, all the hard-hitting topics that we don't get in a conference are going to be here. Because
Yeah.
that's what's coming in our office. How we can't just
Right.
like ignore it and pretend we're just going to, not
Mhm.
not hit the hard topics.
Right. Yeah, it's so important because the such a major aspect of our ability as clinicians, regardless of age,
Mhm.
groups that we're working with has to do with us being able to sit with people's pain and not try to
Yes.
get them,
Yeah.
put in
Yeah.
a different direction around that.
Yeah. Can I sit with your pain and my pain and we're still going to be safe and okay?
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm very excited to have you here.
I'm
I
very
can't
excited.
tell you. Yeah. Yeah. Have you been to Las Vegas before?
I have been to Las Vegas before for a weekend to see a concert.
Oh, yeah.
My children were little and they're both adults, so
Uh-huh.
I don't even remember how it was probably my birthday, so could have been like my 30th or 35th, something like
Nice.
it was a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah, it's been a little while since you've been here, maybe. Well,
Mhm.
our conference will be at the South Point Hotel and Casino, which is on the Las Vegas Strip, but further south, not right next to like Mandalay Bay or some of the big hotels. Close enough to be able to go and do fun stuff, but also far enough away to just be focused on the conference during the daytime. And it's September 26th through 29th. You register at lasvegasplaytherapy.com. We're still in our early bird registration, looking for lots of people to sign up and come and hear the great speakers and what we have to offer. So I'm very excited to see
Yeah.
where this all takes us.
Yeah, make the commitment. And I think too is that sometimes just the energy of being, and I
Mhm.
think that was part of our experience in Kenya,
Yes.
just that energy
Yes.
being around other people who care so much about
Mhm.
children. It
Yes.
like that was contagious, and that was not energy depleting in any way. It
No.
was energizing, right? So you
Right.
walk in, you're like, I have to do this, and
Yes.
Yeah,
I never come away from a play therapy training thinking, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. I want more. Yeah,
yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. Where you go to other trainings and you listen to a speaker all day, you're like, I need a nap. That's enough. I've had enough. Yeah. Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also too, I think, I mean, I am a professor in a graduate program
Mhm.
that has two tracks that specialize in children, right? In school psychology and school
Mhm.
counseling. And my students aren't, they graduate with, unless they take my course in play therapy, they graduate without any specific training
Right.
to work with children. And that happened to so many of us that we
Right.
were in the field, we're working with children, we're clueless. And so
Yes.
so it's a gift to ourselves to go to, something that is
Ongoing. Mhm.
focused, but it's also, it has a ripple effect, right? It's a gift to the children we work with, to their
Mhm.
families, to our communities. It
Yes.
really, it's big. It's big.
Invest in your learning, invest in yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I would love to ask you five rapid fire questions. You ready?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Um, what song could you listen to on repeat?
Oh, okay. Oh, do I, this is terrible. I don't know. Hallelujah.
The
Yeah.
original version. Yeah.
hmm Yes.
Okay. Um, who is your favorite Disney character?
Oh, my favorite Disney character is, oh, this is a tough one because I mean, I want to say like Merida from Brave, but that's a little bit, um,
She's my favorite.
oh, she is. Okay.
Yeah.
So she is. I mean, we share hair, so there's that part, but is she actually probably my favorite Disney character. So that my favorite Disney character is probably Ursula. And I think the reason why though is because my daughter played her in her first ever like school musical. And so I have I have warm feelings about Ursula, but they're mostly connected to my daughter.
Gotcha.
So I'll
Gotcha.
go with Merida.
Okay. If you were transformed into an animal, which one would you want to be?
I'll do the first one that popped in my brain, dolphin.
Okay. Last one. What never fails to make you laugh?
My son. He
Mm.
has an incredible way of just even when I don't want to laugh, I don't know how he does it. It's
Yeah.
magic, but he does it.
Yeah. My kids make me roar with laughter more than anything, for sure.
It's the best,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, yes. They're so witty. And I'm like, how does your brain work so quickly? Yeah, super witty. Well, Jody, it's been fantastic reconnecting and remembering Kenya, how beautiful it was, and how we all ran to the window to see the giraffes as they walked by in the
Yeah.
afternoon. Yeah, as if we'd
Yeah.
never seen a giraffe in our whole life because we really
Well,
had like that.
well, I think, there was a point where I was presenting at I did some presenting on
Yes,
vision at that conference. And I remember could see something moving outside. And I thought, I have never been distracted while presenting by like a zebra before. So this is
you
really
know, there's a first time for everything.
yes. Yeah. And I really am, Janet, looking forward to to be able to reconnect with you
Yeah,
and connect with some other people being here on the East Coast that I
yeah,
don't really get a chance to see very often or I've
yeah.
never to meet before.
Mhm.
That is one of the best things about events like this. So I'm
I
super
agree.
stoked to be coming
Yeah.
and to be sharing something that I'm probably pretty clearly passionate about.
Yes, you are. And September in Las Vegas is fantastic. We're coming out of the heat of the summer and heading into many, for you especially, winter, which our winter is nothing like I'm sure where you live, but it'll be
No.
a great time and we're going to take good care of all of you and just so look forward to having you with us.
Yay.
Thanks again for joining us. And remember, LasVegasPlayTherapy.com is where you go to register. Take good care. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.